Ah, shit. All right. All right. Look, let me stop this and let's start a new one because you were cam on in the beginning. Is that a big deal to you?
No, not at all. I don't care.
All right. So you want to roll with it?
Yeah, of course.
All right. So has anyone told you before that you look like Brian Posehn?
No, no.
Do you
Who
know who
is
that
it?
is?
No, I don't.
Do you remember the Sarah Silverman program?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So look, real quick.
Are you
Now
talking
that
about
we're
the tall,
officially
the tall, goony comedian guy?
goon, Goonie, what do you mean by? Yeah, he's a tall comedian guy. Okay. Look.
I
Look.
think I know who you're talking about.
Let's take this from the top. So,
Okay, okay.
hey, my brother, let me address the audience. Welcome to Master Race Frankenstein Radio. I'm here with Tell Orion. Am I saying that right, brother?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. Please tell the people how we know each other and how you've come to be on Master Race Frankenstein Radio this evening.
Well, I guess I've been tagging along since I don't know. What was it? Good books for bad goys. That's the original.
Okay, yeah, that was the big one.
Um, yeah, and then ever since then, I just kind of been learning more about language and um, really, it's just opened a lot of different doors. So yeah, that's really
Dude, no kidding. Wait, so we've because you have taught me some things. You've brought some stuff to my attention that I hadn't considered before. Are you telling me that you weren't even thinking about this stuff until you saw that freaking video?
no, I did, but I didn't touch Hebrew. So that's
Okay.
really where you encouraged me to look into Hebrew. So I knew Greek a little bit.
Okay.
Um I took a couple Greek courses, and I'm not fluent in it or anything, but I'm I know a little. And yeah, and then I love obviously Old English and German. I, I'm all into mythology, so I like to read
Right
as
on, dude.
old as I can. So, I like to go back as far as I can in the original language if it's possible, so.
It doing so totally transforms like your understanding of the world we live in. It's really amazing.
Yeah, yeah. And it's connected, and I think, if you're a biblical believer, then, you'll think of the story of Babel. But yeah, it really, I think it's much closer than that under the surface, but, that's probably a whole other discussion. But,
So, would you classify yourself the way that this another YouTuber classified me once? He said that I'm a linguistic etymologist. He made it sound so fancy. Would you say that you're that fancy?
um, I would say that I'm pretty close. I think so. I like to
It's
play with
funny.
words. I think it's fun. I try not to, just because people kind of. I've been called out for it by being,
I mean, what is playing with
cryptic
words,
or.
though? I'm sorry, I interrupted you. What?
Well, I'm a big. When I learned what parable really meant just a while ago, I was really the whole. It's associated with the term to bespell someone. So
Really?
yeah, speaking in parables is
I mean, that makes
um
perfect sense.
right, right. So I was like, oh, that's so strange. So
Well, so I recognize para. Okay, so I mean that's so. What is the meaning of para? I mean, this is a Greek term, right?
yeah, I believe it's is it synonymous with it's confusion, right? I mean, isn't it?
That's my understanding. I'm not
Yeah,
researching it while we talk, but my understanding of para is it's like a synthetic, like false, like I don't know. I have a feeling that I'm
yeah,
not really characterizing it correctly, but parable. But that's exactly what a parable is. You're taking a true thing and you're putting a veil over it. That's precisely what a parable is.
Yeah, and then I found that it was if you follow the trail, it eventually leads to be spell, and I just thought that was strange, you know. So when I speak, you know, when you use a roundabout meaning, people tend to think that you're concealing something. You know, whether you're trying to, you know, speak like Yoda, or if you're, which also has a very strange. It's tied to the Hebrew word uh, Yodia or Yodia, which means
No
to,
kidding.
which means one who knows. Yeah, it's really strange.
I mean, you say strange. That sounds freaking like precise to me,
Well,
right? That's
because he says that
obviously
it comes
intentional.
from, well, George Lucas says that it comes from, you know, Japanese and the whole, I think it's what, some sort of middle drama period, I think is what the word Jedi comes from, but it actually comes from Jedekiah in Hebrew, which means to, it's like friend of God. So
How do you know offhand how it's spelled?
very similar. It's a little longer, but it's almost it has the root word for Jedi in it, but
I'm sure that what he says is true, but he's leaving out the part where
right,
it goes even further back
for
to the other
sure.
thing, right?
Yeah,
Hey,
100%.
let me say this real quick, dude. We have two people tuned in. One of them is J Diggs 102. Hey, brother, this dude has been with me for as long as you've been. Thanks for coming by, man. Good to see you. Hey, and I think you're the guy. I think this is Todd. Pretty sure this is Todd. Todd invited me to freaking what's it called, dude? What's that group called, Todd? What the fuck is the group called, Todd?
Was it the Hello Listener group?
No, but I was gonna bring up Hello Listener. No, no. He invited me to this freaking Australian. There's this Australian guy called Not. He is an Orthodox bro, as they call him. Um, and it's Conversation Nation. Okay, so I had to delete my old freaking Telegram. I don't even remember why, to be honest with you. I just couldn't get back in and I had to delete it. So, Todd, like if you're still there, brother, looks like you are. Come on, if you hear me, invite me back to Conversation Nation. Drop a something in the comments so that we can communicate. But anyway, I've had this intuition. Oh, by the way, should I address you as Tello Ryan, or should I address you by a different name,
You can call me Josh.
Josh?
Yeah,
I like that. Josh, let me ask you this real quick. Quick aside: what is the significance of the name Tello Ryan?
well, tell is the root for to spin a tail or to tell. Um, and Orion is usually linked to stars or some of the earliest. Um, from what I've studied, it's one of the earlier stars that are linked from people to people to people. So they are following the star as they navigate. And there's a lot of pretty cool historical things that you can follow as far as people using these stars to navigate, and certain ones mean certain things to them. So um, it's not significant to me in any way. I do like Egyptian mythology quite a bit, but
What do you mean? It's not significant to you, and it's your freaking name that you chose. Come on,
I don't know.
where'd it come from? Where'd it come from? How'd you come up with it?
Um, I like Greek philosophy. I like Egyptian mythology. So I blended a
Yeah, yeah.
mixture of two things, and I prefer to. Um, I like to be helpful in comments, right? So when I know something helpful, I like to share things, right? I like to. I have a on my father's side is German and Celtic, so I'm into Celtic mythology. I like all that type of stuff. My mom's also German,
Okay.
so I kind of
What?
have. Go ahead.
No, 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 no. I want to hear what you have. What'd you say you have?
Um, I have studied more about those people groups, and I just
I've
find
only,
runes, all that stuff is fascinating to me. I know you know about runes as well, so
y- my knowledge of runes is actually pretty limited. What I do know, which which really surprised me, was finding out that runes are based off of Latin. So runes are more recent than our current alphabet that we use every day.
interesting. That how does that work?
Well, so this is how it works. The Germanic tribes are the. This okay. This is my view. Okay, this is this is how I understand it. They're Germanic tribes. These are the original God men. These are the Elohim. This is why they did not have written language. Um, so I believe that written language in general is specifically adapted to capturing their thought process. I think it's from what I could tell, from what have observed, it started with Proto-Semitic Hebrew, and the last one was, the rune system, Elder Frithark or whatever. I think of did the Goths use runes? Did they?
Um, I know that they have it's a combination, isn't it? It's like they do have the period where they do use them, but then they're like a lot of the cathedrals don't use many runes in them from what I've seen.
I are you familiar with the letter Eth?
Oh yeah.
So when I hear goth, I visualize Goth, and it looks like God. It looks like God to me. And so I
Huh.
recognize the Goths as just a pure godly people, a people who followed God outside of the Roman system, which actually brought it to an end in the West. But like the name of Goth seems to identify that these were God men on the surface. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think that's pretty crazy considering everything they left behind, but there's really they're like a ghost, and historically almost.
You're right. I think maybe the here's the craziest part is, to my knowledge, maybe the only thing that we have left of them is the translation, the Gothic translations from Wolfius of the New Testament.
They're like the European Mayans. It's crazy.
Wait, hold on. I don't understand that. Tell me more.
So like, you know how they just disappear basically culturally, like they're such a they build things that last that they can't replicate. And the Gothic architecture and all of some of those structures that they've built, they can't build like that out of the same materials today.
Oh, you mean okay? So the art. So you were talking about architecture. I don't
Just like
know. I
them
don't
as a
know what
people,
architect.
you
Wait,
know,
what?
like them as a people, they kind of fit like the same kind of, you know, archetype. Like they're
Well,
obviously
how would you
advanced.
characterize that archetype? So if I were to extrapolate what we call Gothic architecture to the people, I mean, what can you say about that architecture except that it is extremely symmetrical? It is remarkably It's
Yeah.
complex and yet
Hmm.
remarkably symmetrical. That says a lot about the people who put it together. Because yeah, as you just observed, we don't do that. It's not a thing that's replicated in the modern era.
Yeah. Well, they don't build using, sacred geometry and things like that, or at least it's hidden as much as they hide it if they do use it.
You're reminded. Hearing you say that reminded me of this. So I sold cars for many years, and like way back in I think 2018 or 2019, I had a client who I'm trying to think of the best way to describe him. Uh, Imagine Big Jew. Okay, so the with a face that comes to mind when you hear the words Big Jew. This guy. So this is my client, and he was a nice guy, But I asked him, "What do you do? What you do for a living?" And he says that he's an architect, and I was intrigued because I'm into that. I love beautiful things, and and so I was like, "Wow, we're about to hit it off." So, what kind of architecture, are you into? Like, what's the nature of your designs? The guy tells me cubism. You heard of that?
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
that's interesting.
can you explain what cubism is? So somebody comes and says, "I'm an expert architect. I design I design homes in cubic fashion." What does this mean, Josh?
Is it not like where it's just abstract as shit? Like, doesn't
It's a
really have a
fucking
form,
cube.
right?
It's literally it's just a cube. It's a cube.
I can't
The
think
guy
of.
he shows me on his phone his work, and I'm like, okay, that's a cube. That's a cube. Okay, I see. That's a cube. So this
Yeah.
man is an architect. You think of, I mean, your brain like defaults to advanced kind of thing. Not the guy makes cubes that you live inside. Actually, come to think of it, it just sounds like Saturn worship, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was actually thinking of that myself as far as how our world just seems to be pushed towards that. Beauty is like
Towards
just to think
Saturn
think
worship.
about think about landscaping and how devoid of like natural beauty it is in a lot of cities, and they could make it full of different plants and take the time to actually make it probably beneficial to the people who live there, and but instead it's just devoid of life.
Dude, I really love that you just said that, man. I mean, you're absolutely. People don't think about how we could cater the landscape to us. And it just reminds me of the fact that, dude, all over the Gulf Coast, there are what you call it, Yupon holly trees, and they're everywhere. Whenever you're going down the highway and there are woods on either side, you can identify Yupon holly trees all the way down. But not just that. When you go into suburbs, whether it be in Louisiana or Mississippi, and I presume Alabama and other states down here, in Louisiana, Mississippi, a lot of people, their houses are hedged with Yupon holly. Now, Yupon holly, this is the only tree in North America which is native that is caffeinated. But something that's really interesting about it is that not only is it caffeinated, it has something in these leaves called theobromine. So you whenever you consume caffeine, it causes your blood to kind of surge, and we get that intense feeling. An amazing thing about Yupon Holly with its theobromine is that, and I hope that I'm saying the appropriate terms, but it like dilates the blood vessels, and the blood is able to pass with less resistance, so that you get the effect of heightened focus without jitters. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I've been kind of following along with the whole process that you've been doing,
Oh,
and
cool, dude. That's good to
yeah,
know. Well, yeah, dude.
yeah,
So
it's
that
pretty
stuff's in
cool.
everyone's yards down here. It's in everyone's yards, and they have no clue. We just assume this is meant to look nice. It looks nice, and that's why it's here. Even though these people have some serious, some serious stuff on their property for them to use for their health, and nobody knows. Which to bring this back around to your point, at one time it appears that the landscape was catered to the people who live there, and it has been just ignored and forgotten.
Yeah, yeah, that's leading to like all of the ticks and fleas and stuff that are like record numbers this year. It's crazy. I saw a
Okay, okay,
video where they said the frogs had ticks on
that's fucking crazy, dude.
them.
Let me say this real quick. More people in the chat. Filthy
Cool, cool.
Tomcat, Observer 7981. Yo, y'all. These are people who I talk to all the time in the chat. Thank y'all for coming. Make sure to like the video, please. When y'all show up, if you're not just a spy here to fuck with me, like the video, please, so that I can get back in that algorithm. All right, it's up to y'all to put me in front of other people. Okay. Hey, bro, observer 7981. It's right there in his name. He's just an observer. In Hebrew, this is called Ayin. All right. This is the Watchers from the Book of Enoch. Fake nigga. That's all I'm saying. Unless he liked my video. That's all I'm saying.
uh,
Dude, I think the common term is autistic, but dude, I get crazy about these words. You know how the powers that be, so they say, they will show us what they're doing, and this makes it morally permissible to do whatever thing they do. Right? You've heard this
right,
idea.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. It's something to do with like it's like karmic somehow if you it's like you're somehow subconsciously consenting to being a dumbass, and
Dude, yes. Oh my God.
I don't get it, but
I love
allegedly
how you
they
put
believe
it.
it works.
Apparently it does. All right, so this brings me to my wife, dude. I've just totally changed the subject. I need to talk about this. I've been wanting to talk about my wife for a while, Josh, because I've wondered, am I a dumbass? Am I am I just a dumbass? So let me clear my throat real quick. And I'm not going to linger on this too long because we were on some pretty serious stuff, but this is kind of serious too. Her maiden name. All right, let me ask you this: are you familiar with the um, Jewish practice of what's the word, anagrams, of anagramizing things?
Oh yeah, yeah. Those are fun.
What do you know about? Okay, well, in regard to this
You
being
mean the name game?
the name game being a Jewish thing, what do you know about this in regards to the Hebrew language? And I'll just say this real quiet: semantics, semantics. What do you know
Yeah,
about this
yeah.
stuff?
I think, for instance, like this is something that I learned recently is when they use yada yada. So if somebody says yada yada, that means to sexually know someone. So I didn't know that before, but
Well,
in
how do you
Hebrew it's
figure?
because in Genesis chapter 1 it says that Adam yada yada's Eve. So yeah,
Yada
that's
yada. Wow, dude.
so yeah, yada yada means, like, oh yeah, we dipped around the corner and yada yada, like I didn't know
Okay,
what
well,
that meant as a kid, but now I know. So
let us
um,
yada yada the phrase yada yada, right? So what extract this. Extract the meaning that from that. Yada yada. I
well, that's
mean,
where
phonetically, what do you see?
earlier, correct, yeah, to the one who knows, right, is Yodia. So um there's would be Yod or Yod, from
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean and that is how it all works, right? This is how the meaning is expressed
So what is
within the
your
word
understanding
itself.
of yod?
um
What does it mean? Or yod?
you'll have to remind me on that one.
Well, I wasn't, I wasn't
uh,
looking for anything in particular. I'm just asking for your perspective. Um, well, but
oh
yeah,
yeah,
okay. So I guess
would
there
be
is a thing. There is a. Are you familiar with the pictogram of Yod in Proto-Semitic Hebrew?
yeah, is it the it's just a Y, isn't it? Or is that in the
Can you
Aramaic?
see me on the screen?
Yes, yes. Oh, the
It's
hand.
literally this. It's a hand. It's an arm bent to the elbow with an open hand,
Okay.
and the function of the arm and the hand is creation. So, from what I've read, the yud indicates creation and the creator. So it's interesting that yada yada would refer to sex when sex is the act of creation. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Is that the little seed? I've learned in so many different ways, and
The seed is
so
none.
okay, gotcha. Which is
Okay,
interesting
wait,
because
but you saying that,
Egyptian nun is nothing, or the womb, I guess you should.
is it? Wait. In
Uh,
Egyptian, does the word none correspond to nothing and the womb?
yeah, it's the primordial nothing before.
Holy
So
shit. Okay, so link that to Catholicism. Look at this dichotomy between Catholicism and Hebrew. And Hebrew, none is the son. And in Latin Catholicism, none is a woman who does not reproduce in God's name. Insanity. That's a
yeah,
total inversion.
yeah, that is nuts, man. Okay, so today I was driving and I passed an old cemetery that I pass all the time. Well, I noticed the old obelisks in the cemetery. I noticed them before, but I decided to research it, and lo and behold, it's tied to what would you guess it's tied to, Julian?
An obelisk,
Yeah.
I to torment. I think it would be tied to torment. I think of obelisk, the tormentor from Yu-Gi-Oh, but it's an Egyptian thing, obviously.
Yeah, it's tied to it's Masonic, so
Okay, it's
it's
Masonic. Okay,
yeah, it's because everything comes back, it seems like, to Egypt with Freemason practices and rituals. It's pretty strange, but um
well, to be
yeah, they're
honest with you,
everywhere.
to be honest, I have not observed that. Would you elaborate on how Masonry, loops back to Egypt?
Yeah, so a lot of it comes back to uh architecture, and I mean, realistically, I think there's even more to it in other contexts. Other ancient cultures also seem to use the same um symbol and compass. um the goddess Nuwa, I believe, uses the Chinese goddess Nuwa. It's the goddess of creation. She stops the flood, and she also uses, I think, yeah, the compass. And then there's an
Whoa.
there's another god who actually uses the the ruler. So like, and they have them in like all of the paintings. They're really old, and it's like really strange
Dude,
how.
Nuwa?
Yeah, yep. That's definitely a play on many different cultures have the
I
same exact.
I hear two words in Nuwa. I hear new because in Hebrew there's a habit of, pronouncing the hey as a het. So I hear new, but also the het correctly pronounced, not as he, k, new and nuke. I hear new and I hear nuke in Nuwa. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, that's a little scary and interesting. I also think that it they try to tie her to one of them is it's supposed to be Nema, I believe, in the stories. They're all seem to be depicting the same people, but slightly changing the phonetics or the spelling of their name. Because there's Egyptian, there's also a Nuha or Nuwa. I can't remember the spelling exactly, but there's another one that's almost identical to both of them, and
And it's an
same archetype
interesting
as well. So,
archetype referring to the kanji.
um, well, as far kanji, not necessarily. Just in that way, it
Oh, I thought we were
was
talking about Chinese. Sorry.
yeah, Chinese. It's the archetype as far as like the creator of like the potter, right? And that's where it ties back into Freemason as far as like the potter's wheel and the mason, right? The one who forms from clay, and so
Do so. I just had this thought for the first time, but it's phonically. Can you see a connection between Mason and Moses, Moshe, or whatever?
right, yeah, that would be really strange,
So
but
so
kind of makes
Mason
sense
Mason is kind of Moshe with a nun at the end of it.
because I think he doesn't he's in charge of building or he kills I think the guy he kills is like a architect or something in the story.
Really? Holy smokes! I mean, that's
I,
kind of big.
I
Can you can you verify that?
yeah, hold on, I'll try to look it up real quick.
Okay. It just makes so much sense. Have you observed the details in the story of Moses on Mount Sinai? Have you observed the significance of sin?
Yes, yeah, yep, it's yeah, it tracks like across all of them. It's pretty interesting actually.
I mean, so just so to clarify about how the land of Sinim, which is the desert. They're in the desert of Sinim. Literally, it's the desert of Sin, which is the Mesopotamian god of the moon. So Moses goes atop of a mountain of this moon god, not the god of light, as we are, learn from John 1, that God is the light of the world. But instead, Moses receives the moon and he comes down the freaking mountain with horns, with horns like a crescent moon.
Yeah, yeah, and then they say that's not a good translation, but that's actually what it says.
I mean, yeah, that's looking straight at the so-called Hebrew. That's not
Right.
some random person's English translation. That's everyone's translation who's looking at the original language. Pretty far out. So that really informs what Paul means in 2 Corinthians 3 when he's talking about how, Those who observe the Old Testament are still under the veil of Moses, a veil which is done away with in Christ. What do you think that means?
I would definitely say that. Well, I mean, there's probably a couple layered meanings, but first, I
Oh,
would think that
definitely.
would be how he alters the language. I think that's I think that's really significant, but people aren't they don't know how, how he completely he takes the word salvation and then he kind of puts it behind like a bloodline, a genetic, he definitely politicizes salvation, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. That's an interesting way of putting it. I kind of haven't heard it put that way before, but that makes a lot of sense to me. He politicizes salvation.
He takes I mean, well, what's interesting about the moon is that in Egypt, the word for moon is Ea or Ya or Ja.
Damn, it is. Damn.
So if you were to, I mean, I don't know, follow the logic there. Plus, there's multiple accounts in history of there's other people too, like like the person I believe uh, who kicked out the Hyksos. It was named Amosis or Amos.
Really?
Yeah,
Who
yeah,
kicked out the Hyksos?
right. Which
Okay.
I think some people try to link them to being Joseph's, like basically the remnant of Joseph as he was ruling Egypt. They took power as like a outside. I mean, I don't know. But then if you look at the word Hyksos, and then
Well, so I have not looked at the word Hyksos like that. What can you tell me about it?
it's definitely tied to um, like sun worship, obviously, but which is interesting, right? Because if they're supposed to be Joseph's descendants and they're the ruling class in Egypt, but they're considered not Egyptian, and they take the name, or at least the Egyptians call them Hyksos, and then Amos kicks them out and then reestablishes the moon as the psychological and primary, I would say. Now they revert the cults, right? So,
Wow, dude. You,
and I think
you,
that's how it works, right? I think that's really how this works.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. You just gave me a lot of context really quickly. It's really funny how when you start thinking about this stuff and you have some knowledge of the words, that it just starts to click. It just clicks, man. Wow. Okay.
So yeah, I don't know.
So
I think there's like two groups. Obviously, I think a lot of people can see that, but it's just definitely moon and sun worship, and the language around them is mirroring itself too quite often, right? So it's like
yeah.
they'll swap places with each other all of a sudden, and then but that's like the whole rising and dying god motif
Damn,
that they're
dude.
trying to alter, right? Or they're trying to mimic it or mask it, probably both, or definitely mirror it. Because I think it's clear, like you said, there's a truth here, and they're doing their best to manufacture a fake version of it, and that's what this world really looks like to me.
Let me give you an example of that. You told me to call you Josh, right?
Yeah.
Let us look at your name, Josh. So, what is the right letter or the right pronunciation in place of J?
Um, well, they say it would be Y, but that would be Moses altering the language, so it should be H, I believe, right? But
I
then,
don't. My understanding is that it would be Y, because
but he,
Yud is the source of iota, and the letter J in Latin is just the final iota.
that's what I was saying about how he politicizes salvation is because the word is actually Hoshea, and originally that's his name, which is very close to his name too. You have Moshiach and Hoshea, right?
Okay, okay.
So you have Hoshea, son of Nun, right?
Oh shit, yeah. Dude. So the distinction between him and Moses is the presence of the mem.
Which he then alters to the moon, right?
Damn.
Mirrors. So after he mirrors it, then it becomes locked behind a specific. Now it's not open, so salvation becomes Yah saves, right? It's no longer just salvation, right? Whereas he represents pure salvation for there's no distinction. It's there, and then after he changes the language, it becomes specifically bound to their deity, to this concept of what we're looking at today, which is the veil, in my opinion, like you were talking about. So
It's you know.
just my opinion, but
No, 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 dude. Like, what's so cool is that you're on a totally. You're perceiving things that are just out of my reach. And dude, that's why Christ is the convergence of men, not an individual, but the convergence of men, because I can't know all this by myself. And you're giving me some really awesome perspective that I just didn't have, a couple of minutes ago. So I hadn't even considered, Joshua and Moses as the same name, distinguished by a mem in Moses. Okay, so do you have the letters in front of you? I mean, how are they spelled relative to one another?
um, originally it would be. Well, see, that's the thing is they alter his name in English to where it's. I mean, they do it a lot of times. You know that how it's pronounced is nowhere near how it's actually spelled. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's Moses, but it should be Moshiach, right? And that's the word play. That's a part of the name game as well. As his name's
So
Moshiach. They're waiting
s-
for Moshiach. Like,
something that I was observing about your name, what I was getting at, is that I would pronounce the J because I recognize the sound of J and the letter J altogether as the Hebrew word gay. Um, are you familiar with that word?
um, hold on, I gotta deprogram my brain for a second and think about what you said.
So
Um,
it's Gimel Aleph, and it's pronounced as gay. This is the Hebrew word meaning proud.
okay, yep,
And there is a traceable. There's a pattern of the letter J and the letter G being interchangeable.
for sure.
You recognize that?
Yep,
Okay, so in Proto-Semitic Hebrew, gay is a letter, and it looks kind of like a vertical figure eight, except it's open at the top and at the bottom. It looks like a strand of DNA or like rope that is entwined, and this I'm getting from ancient-hebrew.org, and this guy Jeff Benner over at that website, dude, which really set me off on learning about Hebrew. But he indicates that, look, because I haven't studied, frankly, I haven't studied these rocks, these 2,000-year-old stones with just shit carved into them. Honestly, I am deferring to Jeff Binner at ancienthebrew.org. Somebody correct us if we're wrong. Guess what, dude? Ever since I started last year, dude, no one's ever corrected me in shit, which I think is amazing. Because people like to talk down, but no one will ever engage me about the actual words. So anyway, I'm following Jeff Binner in believing that this letter, which as he has spelled Ghah, and I'm pronouncing it as gay, but I'm suggesting it is also pronounced as J. Uh, it indicates bondage and slavery. But now also, not only is the J and the G related, have you observed as well that the letter J and the letter Y are interchangeable between different European alphabets?
Yep. Yeah, definitely. It's actually really fascinating when you follow certain words. It's really, it makes total sense in some languages, and then others they break their own rules for
Yeah, yeah. So as I see it, the letter Yud, which indicates creation being the work of God, right? Think about this real quick. Yud, God. They're the same word. So we have this glide from the Y into the G. Yud and God are different pronunciations of the same word. And so sh over the past some hundreds of years, there has been this consonant shift, and we can see that you have I'm just going to present it like this. Let us say you have the letter D, and this is a hard pronunciation. If you soften it, the D softens to a T, which is further softened to TH, D, T, Th, TH to S, the S. And really th is kind of there with sh, and these are the kind of games that what used to be called witches would play. People who play with words and they cast spells arbitrarily, shifting vowels just to multiply words. um and so when I think of Josh, right? Josh, the diminutive name of the Son of God. Josh and God to me are the same word. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's interesting, to be honest. I guess I've never really thought about it like that. I see the beginning part of it.
So let me then make sense of the ending part. So
Yeah.
turning sh into d. Just look up consonant shifting. And this is the I guess spectrum, I think that's the right word. So you have there's this concept of I think it's called elisioning a letter. To elision a letter is to just strike it out where it's no longer pronounced.
Okay. Yeah, I'm
So
familiar with that.
you begin with the hard pronunciation of D, and I don't know, it's kind of crazy, dude, but it's really not. I mean, think about your tongue and the way that your tongue interacts with, your mouth and your throat, because it, hey, in Hebrew, this is the breath, and the breath is the Spirit of God. So this physical phenomenon, this is a parallel with the invisible phenomenon, which is God, which is the Holy Ghost, rather. So you have D softens to T, D softens to TH, to sh to s. So t becomes, let's take out the sh's. Let's take out the h's. D becomes t, becomes s, and s cannot be reduced anymore except to silence. D, t, s, followed by silence. So yeah, I recognize
Wow. Yeah, that's
sh
crazy.
and th as becoming before the silence.
I'm trying to
This
think
can
of
also be
other
a,
examples of it right now.
yeah, yeah.
So is this would should be Old German or Old High German? Is this because they start swapping out Y's for J's, I believe, somewhere around.
Yeah, it's the same
So
letter, dude. It's the same letter.
right. So it seems, yeah, it's so interesting because if you follow that back, then that would be you would the H would be silent, right? So then it would be Oshi, which is Celtic, right? It's like so interesting to think about, like
Oh well, speaking of
because
Celtic, dude. I'm
because then
sorry. I'm
there's the
sorry.
Latin Osi. Yeah, okay. So then it's
Oh,
so yeah. So that's how
uh,
you get Osi from for Oshi.
dude. Whoa, and that's the same as Ozzy. By the way, the name Ozzy, that's Osi. That's Oshi. Um, so in Latin Bibles, the book of Hosea is the book of Ossie,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Most people
Yes.
know Hosea, but if you don't know, in a Latin Bible it says Osee. And I learned studying runes that is also one of the names given to the the Anzu, which is also called the Ache or the Aussie. Um, the same root as the word oak, as in the tree.
Is,
Um,
is I
and
think
this,
Elon in Hebrew.
oh, dude, Elon, yeah, that's pretty far up. Yeah, the oak tree. Elon means oak tree. Yes. How about that? The Allen means oak tree. I think of the Alamans. Oh wait. But you were talking about the Celts, and you know a thing or two about Celts. I've actually just been learning about Celts over the past couple of days, and I'll tell you why. I so you know how those who say they are Jews are not Jews.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think we all have been hearing about this
Okay,
particular subject
I
recently.
I think I know. I think I know who they are.
Ooh, do tell.
They're the Celts.
Okay, okay, yeah. It makes sense to me for a little bit, but I'll let you divulge your theory first.
Oh well, no. I mean, if that made sense to you, I want to hear you talk without any of my input for a little bit.
Well, I mean, honestly, if you follow them uh through history, it does look like they're somehow tied to Phoenicians. Um,
Ooh, I had not picked up on that. Tell more.
so well, I mean, look at their language. If you follow the language, like we were just, yeah, it really does. It's really interesting how if you do follow the original language back, there seems to be a Celtic connection that I'm still learning about. But and I'm not an expert on any of this stuff, so you should always double check everything I say. Like,
Oh,
it goes
sure,
for
sure. Well, so
everybody.
I've never even glimpsed this before, Josh. So tell me more because okay, I'll speak a bit after you since you just said that. Um, what I observed is I found out that the Welsh, the people in Wales, these are Celts. That these people are Celts, and so they've been like I've been thinking about them for some months, trying to figure them out because they're shit. How do I say it? The name. All right, pardon me for missing some details, but like they are identified as foreigners. They are foreigners on this isle. Am I getting that right?
Okay. I
Um,
mean, yeah, at one point, I think there's like what the Pictish people there or something like that. I can't remember quite, but
I'm I'm pretty sure, and I forget what the English called them, but I'm pretty sure it just means foreigner. And let's see. Hold
which is
on, I'm
interesting
sorry.
because gur in Hebrew means like stranger or foreigner, basically stranger.
Really?
Yeah, it's where the word stranger comes from. Is from the Hebrew word gur, which is weird because I always kind of thought that would be like German, but they say it's
Well,
not.
in German, "ger" means well, is "gar" means spear,
Okay.
and let's see. Speaking of the Welsh though, I've identified them as Celts, and but I've been really kind of fixated on the name Wales. It's the same as wall. I see Wales, Welsh. I see wall. Um, and where I think of a wall, I think of the het, right, which is this letter which explicitly blocks the spirit of God, right? Where there would be an A, replace it with a het. Where there would be effortless passage of breath, let there be a blockage, a wall. Walmart, Matt Walsh, whatever. There, if you pay attention, there's a wall all over the place, all around us, even.
So
And yes.
is this why people don't like gingers?
Oh shit, dude. I think so. I
No, what
really
about the
think,
black
dude.
Irish?
I think so, dude. Gingers are the weirdest people on earth. Dude, are you hip to how weird these people are?
Dude, there's a bunch of black Irish, right? Like, they're, but hold on. It's like, it's old English black, right?
Sure.
And
Yeah,
there are a
yeah. People with
bunch of
dark
them in
hair, right?
Hollywood. Jennifer Connelly, shit, I can't think of them, but yeah, I know she's like one of the main phenotypes that I
Holy
can think of.
smokes! What you're saying? So the red-haired Irish are retards, and the dark-haired these are the black Irish. These are the
Yeah,
clever ones.
looks like it. Looks like the redheads are the kind of the scapegoats,
Oh fuck, dude. I don't know. My daughter is a redhead, and her mama is a redhead. And the reason that I chose her mama is because she's one of the cleverest people I've ever known. So I don't know. I don't know. But
I
I
think
do
they're
know
just a
this.
scapegoat because they look different.
Oh well, dude. I don't know. There's some real like physiological differences that are kind of out of this world.
They're
Um,
like really hard to put under. I've seen some things online about how like when they need anesthesia, they take like almost double the amount that a normal person does. Isn't that weird?
that's hard. That's hardcore, dude.
Yeah, isn't that
um,
weird?
well, let me tell you what I know about them. So they're remarkably Rh negative. You know that. That's the common thing, right? That everyone knows.
Okay,
Do you know about that?
I think so. Maybe not. I don't know.
Okay. So speaking of blood types, they are the most Rh negative people on Earth. Are you familiar with Rhesus negative blood type?
Uh-uh.
Okay, so a person with Rh negative blood, what makes them Rh negative is the absence of a certain protein. That's why we call it negative. People like me who are, A positive, we have that protein. If you have a positive blood type, you have a certain protein. That's the significance of being positive. The significance of having a negative blood type is the absence of this certain protein. So redheads are more Rh negative than anybody, but there are some really far out anomalies with this blood type. Um, they synthesize vitamin D. They have, uh, I believe the word is endogenous vitamin D, where they do not need the sun. Their bodies produce vitamin D, as opposed to like regular retards like us who need the sun. you know, Literally, redheaded people, their bodies produce vitamin D and they have no need for sunlight in order to have vitamin D in their system. And that's just one big, crazy ass thing. Here's another one. If an Rh negative woman conceives a child with an Rh positive man, her body will recognize the fetus as a foreign object and a threat, and it will attack it. So, in an instance such as me being A positive and my baby mama being A negative, and my baby, my daughter, being A positive. So, we have an A positive baby and an A negative mama. A negative mama's body says that belongs dead and tries to kill it. So my baby mama required to get a special injection to trick her body into not deliberately killing her baby. And redheads are more this is a uniquely redhead issue. I'm sure there are women who are negative, Rh negative, who aren't redheads, but they're disproportionately ginger.
Yeah, that is kind of hard to make sense of, to be honest.
So I'll tell you what I think of it. I think redheads are the original people. I think in the beginning God made redheads. I think the original God people are the redheads. Okay, because I don't think there was a point where so-called God made people. I think mankind has literally always existed forever because we are the body of God and God has always existed, and so we've always existed together. And that these original redheaded people, they created other people as laborers, and we are genetically distinguished so that the god people cannot naturally reproduce with the cattle. However, the cattle have found out how to assure reproduction, and that's why my daughter exists. But I think that the redheads are the original god people, the Elohim, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, archaeology definitely supports that to a degree, I think, too. So,
Yeah,
um,
that's pretty far out. You were talking about Chinese earlier. I forget the name of the region where they were found, but like these freaking like 4,000-year-old mummies or whatever found in
uh,
China that were redheaded and all that.
yeah, and they're abnormally tall for the area too. So they don't
Six
have a
foot or
good.
more, yeah.
Yeah, which is interesting because they say that Xin Shi Huang was from this particular Chinese tribe called the Wrong tribe, right? And they're from no, I'm serious.
Whoa, dude,
RONG.
whoa.
RONG. I mean, they don't even try. That's what we were talking about, though. If you're willing to turn your brain off, somehow they write it down for you to call them out on it. I think it's how long do you think they've just been like waking up every day thinking it was just gonna fall apart? Like giving them the. It's just crazy to think about how it's dumbing down America is actually what has that's what caused this. We don't
Well, so
know what we're reading anymore. We've lost the context behind the words that we read. We think we understand, but that's at a definition level, which has been, and they shift them whenever elections come up. I mean, whatever they need, they can shift definitions, but they can't touch the etymology of the word, and that's what's
yeah. Well,
you
and
know
and this here's the Latin word for that. It's colloquium, right?
yeah,
Colloquium just means talking together, right? That's the translation. And so they justify people, dude. People will really fight for the right of a word to just totally change and to that we should not regard it in its original form ever again. But that's witchcraft, right? I mean, just
yeah,
creating new meanings out of thin air. We have a word which, if nobody's looking at a page, we say it and multiple people hear it and they understand. But then you have these arbitrary rules introducing different letters that have just been made up, dude. They've just been made up. And now we hear the same sound, but we think of these different letters and these different arrangements, and it just confuses us, and we fall in love with the idea of order and category. This is Greek thought, taking a single sound and organizing it into multiple different words depending on what sort of the presence or absence of a letter or two. So I think of the fall of Troy. I think of the fall of Troy, dude. I believe that the fall of Troy is literally, it's the same exact story as the Hebrew story of the fall of man, and it's it has much to do with this uh, corruption of words from a simple unilateral expression of truth to a multiplied artistic rendition of things. Does that make sense?
yeah. It's some of the. I mean, Plato pretty much talks about how to run, like a empire of spies.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. It's pretty much logistics on how to. Yeah, I mean that's. I mean, really, at the core of
Whoa.
what he's saying is, yeah, it's.
Well, I don't know nothing about Plato, apparently. Tell me more about how Plato talks about spies, please.
He talks about how it's important to control and have order and maintain um cohesion amongst like the Greek city states, and how what it is to be Greek, and it's really kind of nationalism. I would say is like, I don't know, it's maybe not so much as
Subversive as fuck, dude.
yeah, it is in some ways, because not all of them are like the same, right? They're different. Like they're so he's the whole ploy is how to get them to synchronize, right? And that's kind of how you can use different levers, and you can use um it's just about, really, they just start mapping out people at that point. You can tell that they've just started to put a lot of time and thought into how to control large groups of people.
Dude, wow, man. Okay, so I mean, you're really helping me to think in different ways. So what is the difference between synchrony and corruption?
um well, yeah, I guess
Because so
harmony
so
would
so let
be.
us. Sorry.
I think harmony is maybe the better balanced way of
Yeah,
synchronicity
it,
or
it's
whatever.
distinct from synchrony. Harmony is distinct from synchrony. Sure,
So I think they're
synchrony
similar,
is like
right?
equity, right?
I think they're very similar, and I think they're at the I think they're two sides of of the same coin, perhaps. You know, one is man-made, and I think one is reality and truth. Right? When we're in harmony with what is true, then we are synchronized with the rest of creation and each other. Even like when we're able to be a part of something bigger than ourselves, I should say. You know?
Yeah, yeah. No, so with harmony, I think of First Corinthians 12, where Paul is saying that we are individual members of one body, and he's talking about how you have a nose, you have an eye, you have a foot. The eye or the mouth cannot say to the foot, I have no need of you. All these different parts are yet part of a single body. This is harmony when different things coexist as one, as opposed to synchrony. Synchrony when what it would be whenever you take all the different pieces of the body and treat them as one and try to force them into a single pattern. You think
Right.
that's kind of right?
Yeah, it would be denying the logical design and expecting everything to perform, and you would, yeah, it's man-made, you know. It's like the absence of life, like we were talking about. And it's people trying to, it's Saturn worship, man. It's control
Damn
of
it. You're right.
it's
It's
control
exactly that. It's freaking Saturn. Because what is synchrony except a cube? What is
Yeah,
conformity except a cube when every side is identical?
when it's reduced. Yeah, yep, when it's finally reduced.
Oh, damn, that's good, dude. It's really amazing to look at these different, quote unquote, these different types of thought, these different quote cultures, and to actually think about them enough to recognize that they're literally the same thing, and we're just thinking of the same thing in different terms.
Yeah,
You know,
speaking of that, have you ever saw the word for papyrus?
in what alphabet?
I think it's Soph, and is it? I think it's Soph. Is that true in Hebrew? I think it's Egyptian as Soph, but um,
Soph? I don't know. I know Soph is meaning wisdom in some language. I don't know much of that. I think it's Greek for wisdom, isn't it? No, it's
yeah,
not. Wait, because it's tied to
it's
sophistry, though. But it's also
right.
tied to Sophia.
Also,
Wait,
okay,
hold on,
so
hold on. It's tied to Sofer also, which is a freaking Hebrew scribe, which deliberately misinterprets the text. He is the hand of Moses. All right, go
okay,
on, go on, go on.
so they say that he doesn't go across the Red Sea, and that he goes. That it's a translation. An original translation says he goes across the Sea of Reeds, right? Well, they say that these are deliberately mistranslated, and it's the words are used for soft, which is papyrus. So Pharaoh is, if you take it literal, Pharaoh is led in between the sea of papyrus and smashed into a sea of papyrus, basically.
Wow. And when you're saying that papyrus equals reed.
Correct. Yeah, it's a mistranslation, I believe. I need to look at it
Okay.
again, but yeah, there's something weird going on where they're saying that the Red Sea is actually the Sea of Reeds in the
So
original text, not the
so
Red
let us
Sea.
so let us then look at in the interest of the what do you call it, the phonic root read, and I am inclined uh, to think that Old English and Hebrew are virtually the same thing, and they're different sides of kind of the same thing. So what is the significance of there being a sea of reeds? As I see that, it is interpretation as an obstacle, as in a sea being something which is an obstacle to labor in order to cross, and then reading. Since we've been talking about words this whole time and how there
Right.
is a single root in these multiplications of words, and there is a sea of reading. This is how I am thinking of it as I hear you talk. So you labor to understand a thing through reading it, but I can't help but also think of Christ on the cross, and they put a reed in vinegar and they put it to his mouth to drink, and the Christ drinks from this reed, this bitter, sour reed, before he dies. What do you make of all that?
Um, well, I'm not sure if I was to think about the what they're trying to probably symbolically say, they could be trying to make the words that are written by the reed bitter to our ears, right? Because I think there's other things, there's other
Yes.
verses that say the same thing, right? Like we won't be able to hear because like
Dude,
our hearts are bitter and like we can't hear, but that's because in some ways he's trying to.
I think of this. Whenever when I lived in Slidell, Louisiana, there was a church, the First Baptist Church of Slidell. My wife and I used to go there every Sunday, and the I went, I didn't go to church for the service. Like, I stuck around for the service, just just cause I was there, just to observe the people and see how they're being taught by the pastor. But what my personal interest was in going to church was Bible study, right? And so there was a really, presumably still is, a big Bible study there. Biggest one that well, second biggest one that I've been a part of. But anyway, there was maybe 20 people involved. And there was a really good uh, pastor. I don't know if he was a good pastor, but I mean, the gentleman who conducted the Bible study, he was charismatic and he was relatable and he did a good job, on the surface at least. But whenever I would bring up Hebrew, oftentimes, he'll say something about scripture, and I would chime in with my testimony and my related insight into the Hebrew language, and trying to think of, I guess I don't have to think about it. The reception of Hebrew in this class was bitter. It was bitter, dude. Like, seriously, whenever we're in the book of Nehemiah, and he's like, "Oh yes," and they went around and they built gates and they built walls and they were rebuilding the walls around Jerusalem. And I'm like, yeah, that Jerusalem, it means the city of peace. So what we're really talking about is, well, building a wall around our peace. And where it says that they built a sheep gate. If you think about John 10, Jesus says, "I am the door to the sheep." And so, as I'm breaking down scripture and citing the Hebrew language in order to legitimately make sense of these mysteries, it was nothing but bitterness to these people. Dude, people were quiet and they nodded awkwardly, like, all right, can we get on with it? I mean, we're there to study the Bible in the name of Christ and truth. But whenever I would bring up the Hebrew language, it made people uncomfortable, because whenever you consider Hebrew, you start to realize that what we believe in English is really just, there's way more to it. That we're
Hmm.
kind of naive children to exclusively consider the English meaning. So whenever you're faced with Hebrew, it's a big challenge to your whole worldview, even in the context of a Bible study, which is kind of crazy, dude.
It is crazy, you know, and I kind of had a similar experience of and was, you know, asked to actually, you know, my wife really, we had friends at this church, and you know, we were asked to not come back, you know, and I still regret
What?
that because it made my wife really upset, and yeah, you know, that kind of, I don't know, it just, you know, and then
Do
COVID
tell, dude.
happened, and
You
then
got to tell
COVID,
all about it.
yeah, so you know, I would do the same thing, right? And you know, when we would come to different verses that I would read ahead of time, you know, I would kind of look into them and be prepared, and they would not want to have any discussion about it, you know. There was just no fire to know more, right? It was,
Mm-hmm.
and especially when it started to, it was clear that it was saying deeper things, right? I was still really new at this time into a lot of this stuff, you know. This was years before COVID happened even, and then, you know, we stopped attending the small group after that, and then we still went to church. Just it was close, and we had other friends there as well. So we just kind of stopped doing the small group after that. And COVID happened, and the pastor never opened the church again for months, and the whole congregation died. It was like the saddest thing to watch.
Holy smokes, dude. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
sad. I mean,
yeah,
it kind of says a lot about the root of the congregation.
yeah. And you know, I confronted. It wasn't a confrontation, but I asked him a few questions as well, and he kind of shut me down. And you know, he didn't even want to have a just a 10-minute conversation with me, and he had to go somewhere. But you know, I asked him if we could meet another time, and he told me he would get a hold of me. And yeah, so I don't know. I felt, you know, sometimes I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm kind of paranoid, but sometimes I'll go in there and I'll be eagerly listening. I don't know if I have an intense look or something, but dude, the some of the stares I get back from some pastors is like,
I
I
get
don't
it,
know, man.
dude. I know. I get it,
It's it's strange. It's like we can kind of both tell. You know what I
dude.
mean?
One time I showed up at a Bible study at a Methodist church with giant cue cards of the whole Proto-Semitic Hebrew alphabet, and then on the reverse side, the alphabet of modern Hebrew, or AKA Aramaic. And I was like, these guys are gonna love this. I'm coming raw as can be with the root of the whole scripture, right? And I'm like, hey, can I share this with y'all? And if you, damn, and I presented it a year ago. I need to present it again, but just the whole Proto-Semitic Hebrew alphabet, because it's as I see it, it appears to be the root of everything. I think it could be, don't know, maybe might actually be the initial, uh, you know, alphabet. I don't know, but anyway,
Like
these
like in the
people.
story of Babel, like the
Yes, yeah,
first tongue.
exactly. Like so there was one tongue and then it was
Sure.
scattered. And I think I really think that the Proto-Semitic Hebrew alphabet might be the first step in pulling apart the one tongue.
What do you think about
Um,
like how they use a hard G, but like our language got rid of it?
well, what do you mean? We use a hard G.
Not like
Gay.
that. Yeah, not like them though. Not like real Hebrew.
Gay. What do you mean? What is a hard gay? How can I make it harder? Gay.
I guess you got to throw a couple.
Bleh, bleh.
You got
Okay, so you're talking about from the bottom of the tongue, lei, like Chinese, lei.
to. Perhaps, but I feel like even Hebrew, like ours is softened now compared to theirs. Theirs is like almost like it's like it sounds more like a ach is or something. It's got more of
Okay,
a
so they shoehorned the het into it.
r-
Have you ever looked at the Hebrew letters and how they're spelled and the implications of the spelling. Like, the whenever I say a, what do you think of a?
Uh, right. Yeah. I think you mean for a Hebrew or just like as your as
Just in
phonetically.
in general, the first thing I think of is A B C D,
Sure.
just
Okay.
A. So what we call hey, I think it's actually just A. I think it's just A, because the articulation of H is the het. So if you put a het at the beginning of A, then hey, then you're stopping the breath. But let's look at het. Let's look at het, or ket, or whatever, however you want to say it. Et. Okay, dude. Here's like a really here's a cool one. Et. What do you think of et? Et. What can you tell me about that?
That's interesting. So so you're saying ET as et?
Well, do you recognize et as being a word that occurs thousands of times throughout the Bible, which is never translated into English? Do you know about that?
Is that it's ETH, right? But it's just et, and it's
Well, it's
I think we've
Aleph
talked about
Taw.
before, right? Where it's the beginning and the end, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
All right.
So it's the beginning and the end, or if I think if you look at it in actual, okay, so something that I found really interesting is at the beginning of when they're using it when Eve uses it and she says, "I have," when right after she gives or right before she gives birth to Cain, she says that she has created a man, and then it says et Yahweh. So if you use that in other places, it acts as like a specific like divine. It's almost like a divine marking for like intervention, like so, like creation. It stands for like a symbol of creation.
Yes,
That's
dude. Who is the
so.
Okay, so all things were created through him and for him, right? What is et, dude? I mean, it tells us right there in John what et is. Et, et. What does it indicate?
I would say the the beginning and the end. It would be Jesus, right? It would be the
Dude,
Word.
yes. So you have et, the Christ, occurring thousands of times throughout the Old Testament and never acknowledged. Et, the beginning, and so let us look at exactly what it is. Aleph. So to in my estimation, Aleph is equal to A, and I think we see the same play out just in the Latin alphabet. We have the shape of Aleph being referred to, being pronounced as A. Um, so here's a big problem everybody makes when it comes to identifying God. Like he is just a spirit out there. He's a spirit somewhere out there. But God is not. He does not exist to be out there. He only can interact with this world through man. Only through us can he interact with the world, for we are his body. We are his body. He becomes reconciled to the doll. We hear doll, we think of an inanimate toy, but it's the Hebrew word identifying the brain, the door to the to the house, which is the physical man. Anyway, what I'm getting at is et aleph ta. It's the same as at is the same as et. So to look at et, is to see the spirit and to see death. To see At is to see. So Aleph is the reconciliation of A or the ghosts uh, to the tall, which is the body. We see. Let's see. So T Taw. This is the dead form of man. Do you agree?
Um, I think so. When
The
she
sign of the
says
cross.
et Yahweh, okay, I have created a man et Yahweh.
Okay, so so look, before you break it down like that, just look at it this individual letter of Taw. So at one end of the alphabet we have Aleph, and at the other end we have Taw. So I propose that the Hebrew alphabet begins with Taw. It does not end there, but it begins there because man begins there, dead in his sin. And then you trace the Hebrew alphabet and you arrive at Aleph. Aleph is the animated uh, body. It is animated by the Spirit of God. And I believe that's also where we get the word elf, that an elf is one who is not dead in sin. Such as, elves live in the woods, right? Wood is the
Yeah.
Old English word for madness, which is just the absence of thought, which is God. Um, am I making sense?
Um, yeah, I think so. So as far as the it can be read backwards, I think that is accurate. I mean, realistically, the kicker is like if we write it backwards, we would read it backwards, like as English speakers today, which I think is like another in your face.
I so trying to think of how to like drive my point home. Et, which it recurs in every instance of creation, it represents the transition from death and sin to life in Christ. With T being death and sin, Taw being death and sin, and LF being life in Christ. And so all things which have been created by Christ, right? Christ being the cooperation of men in the Spirit of God. Uh, does that make more sense?
um, yeah, I still don't. Okay. So, but when she, okay, let me have you clarify your opinion on Hebrew Yahweh. What's your clarification on Hebrew Yahweh?
Yahweh is a perverse pronunciation of you.
But as he's the character himself, right, is in the story, the one that the people are reading about. I right, you say it's YEU, correct? YEW.
So let me be more specific. Okay. Um, is there an English phonetic equivalent to that?
You mean you?
Yes.
Yeah, it would be E or YEW, correct?
Well, how
Or
about
YEW.
YOU?
Sure, yeah. Well, I think that's Chinese, but I mean, I don't know.
Okay, so I'm not gonna I'm gonna just be straight, dude. You are God.
Sure, yeah, okay. And I know like there's a lot of interesting things around there, and I don't fully disagree, but I think that the context that people use it in is taken out of context.
Well, please explain.
I think for instance, I think when he says that ye are gods, right? I told you ye are gods. When they're trying to pin him, they try to pin him down in when one of the sparring matches that they're having, right? Jesus and the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and he
Yeah. John 10 is it? I think that's John 10.
and he says, I think a lot of people read that and but isn't he talking to when God actually tells? I think it's in Psalms or something like that. He says, "You're gods, but you'll die like men." Correct.
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
So in that sense, everybody is an immortal before then, or like what's this? What's the context that you guys use there sometimes? Because I think some people explain it a little bit better, but other people seem to like literally run with it and it kind of.
Well, my impulse is to immediately say, what is the Greek? What does it say in Greek, right? 'Cause presumably, if you look at the Greek, then it will inform the entire context. You are gods, but you shall die like men. What if we just observe it in English? What this suggests is that a god is someone who thinks. That's how I see it. I mean, given the whole context, a god is a thoughtful man. A god is someone who has this spirit of creation, who has the capacity to, look at a thing and understand it, who has the light of the world, right? So when he looks at a thing, it's not in darkness, but it's enlightened because he's black, because he's a black man. All right, only black men have the capacity to think and understand. Oh, are we on the same page?
We are.
Okay, so as a black man, I understand that uh, to be is for him to say, "You are gods, but you shall die like men." Actually, I mean, the freaking linguistic trickery is so much. I don't know what's really going on, man. The way that I hear it is different than the way that I see it when I look at it in Greek. I'll tell you what I hear.
But who's he
You
talking
are
to?
gods. I think of God. Well, I think he's talking to Hebrews, to black men, to men
The
who belong. Here it is, to men who belong to Him. When I see you are gods, I see the word gods not as plural but as possessive. Like you belong to me, and you would live eternal with me. However, you shall die like men because you deny me. That's how I read it.
okay,
I
yeah.
see it
See,
as I
I
see it as
always
the
assumed
spirit
that
speaking
he's
to
a
the flesh.
talking.
It's
Go on.
I see it as the spirit speaking to the flesh. You belong to me, or you would, however, you shall die because you deny me.
Do you think that there's any correlation between in Psalms he's talking to judges and rulers, which are considered the like princes, which are like and then and John he's talking to like that same archetype of um and he's kind of classifying like your God already told or you already have scriptures that tell you that God God has already deemed this to be true, right? So he's like, your scriptures already tell you this. Has it not already been written that I've already said that ye are gods, but you'll die like men? So it's interesting how he's talking to like it's the same archetype, right? It's the same power of that same. It's who's in charge, right? So yeah, is it
He
is it our? psyche or pride. I'm not
what
sure, you know.
what's going on here is that those who can, all right, Jesus, he spoke to Pilate, to Pontius Pilate. He said, only those who follow the truth hear my voice. You remember that?
I do. You know, I'm such a
Pontius,
pessimist. When I was a kid, I was like, well, who wrote? You know, I always do this. You know, who's holding the camera whenever you're watching YouTube videos, and I like to do the same thing. Is like, who's holding the pen? So it's a lot of these things. They become firsthand accounts of. You know, there's only presumably what him and is Jesus Barsabbas in the room. You know, the story gets really insane really quick there, and it's such a veil of words and so much going on and so many different you know, you have the whole pi haben ritual with the 30 or 5 pieces of silver for your firstborn son, and then you have the Yom Kippur ritual with the goats, and you know, the two people being let go, or two people on trial, and one of them is basically killed for the sins of the community, which, you know, I don't know if there's any historical, I don't know if it was like the right time for that ritual, but that seems to be what the text is inferring by a lot of that stuff, you know.
yes.
So I just think it's strange how it's it's easy for to take the I think it's easy to take the beautiful path of the text and ignore some of the other glaring inconsistencies of it in some of those areas. I don't think it really changes the overall story, but you know, like we said, when they take a bitter reed and put it in his mouth, and then we say that the words will be bitter, is that to our ears or does that come out of his mouth? Because, you know, I feel like it could be both.
Both. That's what I was thinking as you spoke. Is like it's both. Yeah.
So it's
Well,
hard for me just to like take one side all the time, you know. I do believe that God is within us. I do believe that God dwells within each of us. But
you know, I.
you know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know. I agree. So I was thinking. Jesus says to Pontius Pilate, "What is truth?" Whenever you hear this question of what do you think of? Do you think of anything in particular when you hear this question, what? As far as language is concerned, but besides the English word, the English question, what?
sure, yeah. I mean, when you do it that way, yeah.
Tell me more, please.
Well, I would assume what your with your extra pronunciation of the WH, that it would be referring to, I don't know, white people. I can't really think of other people who use in strange terms like that, but I don't know. I don't know.
Dude, I don't know.
What
I don't know either, man. I didn't mean anything by it, but you just made a connection, dude. I mean, you just made an authentic connection. What and white kind of sounds similar. Did you check out that, like, I think it was a short I posted recently about the word white?
I did, yeah, that was interesting about how it's yeah, yeah, there was quite a bit of interesting connections after I took a look at it when you made that video. It was definitely
A,
compelling.
a white man is one who has been punished. And then there's the word white, which, going back to my like horror, gothic horror literature days, a white is like,
A zombie,
yes, a zombie, a
somebody
ghoul,
without
if you
breath.
will. So let us look at the total fucking opposite of that, though. Pontius Pilate says to Christ, What is truth? Christ says, all who follow truth hear my voice. Dude, people read this text. How many countless thousands of people who say, I am Christian, have read this text and have no damn clue what it means and have not looked into it whatsoever? So, what is truth? That's the question. The Hebrews were stranded in the desert by this son of a bitch, Moses, for 40 years. And the only thing that carried them to the end, to the river which they crossed and made it to the promised land, was manna. Manna, do you know, my brother, what manna translates to into English out of Hebrew?
I do not.
Manna is two words. It is a two-word phrase in Hebrew. Man, get this, look into it yourself, what the word man, mammonon, means in Hebrew. Manna is man who. What is it? So whenever the Hebrews were like, "Oh, I'd rather be a slave in Egypt. At least I didn't want for food or for drink, you know." Then God gave to them manna as they were yearning for slavery. Think about this, dude. They are they had just been slaves for however many generations in Egypt, and then through miracles by the Lord, they were freed under under the guidance of Moses, albeit. Moses brings them through the desert after receiving the moon, okay, the freaking moon, and projecting this inverted
I lost you. You still there?
pardon.
There you go.
Anyway, the only thing that gets them through this struggle is manna. And in Hebrew, manna means, what is it? So as these people struggled to get to the promised land, all that
I
carried
see.
them there was the question, was pure curiosity,
Was
was
the
the
truth, right?
question of why, of what. And this takes us straight to John 1, the light of the world, Logos, which in Greek it's called Logos. In English we say the Word. In the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God. The Word was God. Literally the Word is Logos, which is thought. And manna is the question, what is it? The way through the desert, through any struggle, my friend, is thought. Dude, I mean, it's that simple. They have multiplied words to such an outrageous degree that we cannot fathom the power of thinking. Josh, what do you think of that?
Uh, it's it's depressing a little bit, but I think you're totally right. And yeah, I think they're wicked people for what they do. I really do.
Okay, well, speak to us instead of them because we know they're wicked. But what about who is the ones who are facing the wicked people, and what do we do?
Well, so that's a good question. I think God's children have been misled we've been pit against one another. We've been treated like livestock, legitimately. We've been, and that's just a physical, right? If we were to go in and look at like how they've programmed us to, do unhealthy things to our bodies, and all sorts of mental illnesses, all these things are just, it all comes from, I truly believe, from this type of, for lack of a better word, this type of fuckery. Um, just messing with people on such a finite level, right? Just inverting the truth all the time. And you can see it, how it affects people profoundly in extremely negative ways, man. And the only way out, it seems like, is to turn away from it, and then just, it's, yeah, like you've said many times, being a servant to other people is just one part of it. But it's, if everybody acted that way or thought that way, then we could dig ourselves out in such a, it would overnight, it would transform. And I really believe that. I truly believe that.
You know, people people rag on me, dude, for my whole message of being a servant. And
No,
dude,
you're right.
I
It's
love
100%.
these. Listen, let me tell you this real quick, Josh. Like, you're not the only guy I've been talking to on Discord recently. And my favorite part, the whole reason I'm on YouTube is to communicate with people, And there's a dude who I've been talking to who he's told me that I need to stand up for myself and I need to be stronger and not be a pussy. And this, I'm paraphrasing, like, he hasn't called me a pussy, but he has not understood the significance of being a servant. So I want to speak on that for a little bit, because this is not, is it this? All right, hold on. I'm actually trying to park real quick. Give me a second. Hell yeah. Okay, cool. I want to talk about that for a little bit. Being a servant. So he had. Ooh, hold on. Like, and I will be them more to it, but that's how he had characterized me. I want to know, what are your thoughts about being a servant, and why does it matter?
um I think being a servant is what we're meant to do as brothers and sisters, right? And I think that there's a thing that, like, altruism, how it can be exploited and used to weaken your own house. I do think that is a reality that unfortunately we do have to consider. I wish it wasn't that way, but there
No, no,
are,
totally true. Yeah.
there are some things that we do have to keep in mind. But overall, yeah, I mean, how can you watch people suffer and, sit by? I don't like how we as men have become complacent in that, and we're waiting for other men to come and do something about it, right? And I think that's the whole thing, is like, if we're not going to serve each other, then are we waiting for someone else to come serve us? Like, it doesn't make any sense, right? Like, it really is a logical loop where they're already exhibiting it, but they're not being served well, right? But it's just it's pretty crazy to think about.
Ego, uh, which is just ourself. When we're concerned with what happens, we on our own just can't handle it. What happens? A wall, we can't figure a thing out. I think all of us have experienced the fact that one additional person can make our lives doubly good. You know, uh, so
Or it could
I've been a
it can
retard
have
like
the
my whole
opposite
life, dude.
effect.
What do you mean?
One person with one person is capable of completely tanking your life as well, though. Like, it's interesting how that's the game, right? It's like we're constantly it's a that's what it is, right? It's how can we serve. Yeah, it it is. It's difficult to figure it out because it's simple, but at the same time, like, we have to be willing to test what we believe, and I believe that God does provide for me, my family, but I am responsible to do my share, and I can't just ignore that, right?
I had
Yeah, yeah.
the last bit of what you were.
Oh, yeah, that sucks because, all my notes are on my phone and I haven't been able to. So I've had the same problem tonight. Um, I was just simply saying, as far as, like, I believe that God provides for me and my family. But I also have a role to play in that. Um, so, I just think that it is one person can doubly increase your life, and they can be a blessing, but at the same time, there's that element to things that I think we're dealing with. And when I don't know, perhaps what he was speaking to specifically, but right now, I think our culture is feeling extremely tapped out, right? And by design, they're taking our charity away from us. They're taking our really our humanity away. They're dehumanizing different groups. They're slowly whittling us down to where I feel like they're just stressing people out, and people aren't able to, even Christians, right? They're on the fence on pretty pretty non-negotiables, as far as Jesus. If Jesus himself was in that position, it would be a non-negotiable. But a lot of Christians are even struggling with a lot of this stuff. I think I think I think they are. Yeah, I think they are, man. Well, your video, I think, did a good job about showing how it's the same word for the cross, right? Isn't that the gist of it?
Yeah, man. I can't get over it when I drive past a church
There's a
and
bunch of
there
rude
is the
people.
implement.
Isn't that funny though, and sad at the same time?
Dude, I'm like today I was thinking like I want to go interview these I general at large were exposed to the original English meanings of the words that we use. They would very quickly ha- be able to communicate about the real nature.
Uh,
So much over it.
yeah, did you ever take a look at I'm sure you have the old English for fun means it basically just means that someone's tricking you. You're being fooled. I'm just funning you.
Not that I can remember. Tell me.
So yeah, time flies. Time flies when you're having fun.
Oh, dude, really? It means to trick someone is to have.
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, if you're having fun, you're being tricked, right? It's fun. It's fun. Like someone's playing a trick on you. Oh, I'm just having fun. We're just. Oh yeah, yeah. I thought that was so funny. Well, geez. Well, yeah. But yeah, so if somebody wants to have fun, I it was old English. I haven't looked at it, and I should look at it in Hebrew. That'd be interesting. But yeah, so if somebody wants to have fun with you, they might not want to.
Think of the Baphomet statue, which has one hand pointing up and one hand pointing down. And that is a picture of our whole civilization, dude. Like whenever we say something, it literally means the opposite of what it meant really not too long ago. It's kind of crazy.
It is. It's hard to. That's the one puzzle piece that's hard to put is how they pulled that off.
Well, through just patience, patient subversion, one generation at a time, dude. One generation at a time. And I think probably alcohol had a lot to do with it. Whenever everybody's got a little buzz and everyone's having a good time, and we're like, "Oh, you're a teacher. Oh,
You,
you're a professional. Oh, you've studied this your whole life. Oh, wow, that's really cool. You're really smart." And we just believe people, and
you
we
mean when they're having
don't.
fun?
when, when they're dude, we go from yeah when we're having fun, we go from being God's beloved black people to having fun and turning into these into white devils. Yeah,
Yeah, isn't
that's
isn't that? Wow,
dude, it's crazy. It's
it
crazy. It's
is.
okay. So obviously, I mean, you've been paying attention to like the stuff I've been posting. I've been like really preoccupied with the language of the Black Hebrew Israelites, and from what I could tell, that's just true. Like what they believe in is just true. Except you have to be hip to the etymology of the words in order to recognize the truth in it. What do you think
Yeah.
of that?
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of made a bad joke one time, but I'll spare your channel from but yeah, I think it's interesting as far as how
Soon.
well, one time I don't know. They're a pretty hateful group of people, right? And I try not to feed into that, but um I kind of
Well,
have like
who
a
who are you talking
negative
about?
Black Hebrew Israelites to be specific. They're pretty negative crowd of people, I would say.
My people. Okay, I don't think I'm all that negative.
Um, okay, well, let's hear. We'll say Yeah, I don't know the
Oh,
specific camp
the
names.
fake
Yeah.
Black Hebrew
I don't know the camp
Israelites.
names, but yeah, some of the camp people yeah, I don't know. They're pretty rowdy people and they're fairly racist, I would
Yeah,
say,
they are.
but
Dude,
just
you
out
know,
of context, I keep a list of like the most horrendous things that I come across in the text. I kind of have like my own most wanted list. Um, and when they kill like all the Midianites and take the 32,000 virgins for themselves and do other weird stuff like that, right? And and they have this terrible consistency of attacking their family and their brothers, and they don't seem to mind uh there seem to be some consistent patterns when they were claiming that, and it seems to be a
well,
inter intergenerational hostility towards their own family members seem to line up pretty accurately. It was a bad
sounds
joke.
toxic.
Yeah, it was a bad joke. I was, it was, but
Oh, I didn't know you were joking. Wait, toxic. I have a feeling that the word toxic. What does it mean? I wonder what it means. That dude, it's so hard once you discover etymology to not wonder what.
yeah, like onomastics, like names.
And I
I'm
think
I'm bad with that. Well, now I'm like, yeah, with names. I'm like, oh, that's a weird name. My wife will just look over at me as I have to start looking up this guy's name real quick. I'm like, yeah, I know it.
masks.
So yeah, onomastics is like really cool. The study of names, right? I think that's my other hobby, I would say.
Mine too. I didn't know there was. Wondered. Now I know onomastics. Ooh, look at this. Can you see it? It don't look as big to you as it does to me, but it's a great blue heron. You know what a
I
great
can't.
blue
Oh, I
heron
see it. Yeah, yeah,
is?
yeah, yeah. I see it. Yeah, yeah, yep.
Dude, this thing is like 4 feet tall. They're so cool. Dude, the wildlife over here in like Southwest Mississippi, Southeast Louisiana is really cool.
Yeah, it
Great
looks
blue.
like it.
I,
Yeah, watch all the
I,
plants that you're able to find down there.
backyard. Uh, through Christ by himself. I'm sorry, through Christ for himself. And I think about the animals, and I think today in 2026, we sometimes a man he'll make a chair, right? He'll think about lumber and he'll make a table, or he'll think about whatever materials are at hand. Kind of a force within.
Um, yeah, I think that's our nature, right? That's what makes us man, I think.
So let us cross reference this real quick with thing. We can know how to put it.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Um, man. So I was thinking about man in the long. I imagine when the Elohim, their cattle people, that they would just teach their children, look, this is this is how you make a plant. this is how you make an animal. And you would have like a class of, of people, and everyone's learning how to produce an organism. And I wonder that this is how we have come to have so many different types of organisms, because just all of the god people of earth were always creating something new, and that every destruction thereof was, a deliberate thing by this force called the devil, right? Just to destroy all which is created and to destroy the power of creation. And just forever, dude, just forever. Without, there is no reaching the beginning, it's just forever. There's always been the form of man creating something by the power of the Holy Ghost. And we are at a point today where, the devil, as we call it, is has done much to arrest this power, to make the man complacent, where he does not think, he just seeks pleasure. If he is seeking pleasure, he is not thinking about creation. I really think that's exactly where we are. That we used to create, and that we being men, have literally created all of the plants and the animals, and that we have arrived to this point in the present, understanding a history which has been curated by our enemies, who don't want us to understand our power. To look out and see plants and animals and say, wow, what a wonder of evolution and chance. But dude, I think it's
Yeah, it's
just been us the whole
ridiculous.
time, man.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I think it's crazy to believe that all these different species just. It's such an illogical argument that all of the different species of everything, yeah, miraculously come from germs or whatever the hell they teach now. I don't know. My son was telling me something, and I'm like, "Where the hell did you learn that?" He's like, "Oh, science class." It's like they definitely teach evolution is cutting out a little bit.
Okay, that's because I'm out on the pier. I'm walking back to the now. The last thing I heard from you was the words "evolution is."
Yeah, evolution is kind of ridiculous when you think about it. I mean,
Well,
I think pieces of
I
it
can't
are
appreciate.
obviously. I don't mean all of it. I believe in micro evolution, but obviously I don't know. There's something. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, I can appreciate the notion that things change. I have observed that things will change, and
Sure,
that is evolution. Is just just the fact that things will change
but
according
different
to circumstances
subspecies and
surrounding it.
stuff. I don't know about that. Like all
I can even
birds,
conceive.
it's just
I
crazy
can
to me.
No, dude. I imagine people very delicately, intentionally designing all of these things. Critical thing that everyone misses is that God interfaces with the world through us. And that this form, this is the source
See, that's where I agree with
of
you.
all creation. Our own creation.
Rather than like, we are gods, right? I think when people, it's how it's interpreted, right? I think to a degree, I agree. God directly interfaces with us that allows us to an extension, right? When we know Him and when we're in alignment with creation, then we have the ability to create. I think that's how it works. I don't know if like you know, to me it seems more logical that way than when someone reads into it and is like, I am a god. You're right, because the contents of when people think that way generally turn out pretty poorly in history. So um, I think it's true, but not in the way that they abuse it and they interpret it. They're a part of it's harmony with God, right? That allows you through harmony and through creation to create. I think when people are disconnected from that, that's when they start to replace that with man-made things like what we're doing now, right? We're no longer creating, we're creating machines to create.
That's a good point.
We're outsourcing that divine gift that we were given. We're now outsourcing it, officially outsourcing it. So
Well, if you consider the possibility that the word God, which indicates creation, the conclusion you would draw is that God is not only a spirit. God actually has two components. He is a spirit which is in possession of a body, because without the body which he possesses, he has to interface with the physical world or create anything.
now, do you
Does that make
do you
sense?
see do you see the first 5 books like Moses? Do you see the books of Moses being accurate then, or no?
I think they are accurate as parables, but so Moses being the one who has received the word of God from the top of Mount Sinai, what he has transmitted to us is an inverted reflection. The moon is a mirror, and a mirror does not just reflect truth, but inverts it. So that's my take on that.
Okay, because that's something else I've been kind of pondering recently, as far as what would happen to what would happen to Christianity if it only used the New Testament. Like, what do you think about that? I'm hypothetically, what kind of world do you think would have happened for Christianity had they not adopted?
Be undeterred. Or,
I'm not sure, right? That's
okay,
that,
can you hear?
yeah. Yeah, I can.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yep,
Okay, okay. Okay.
yep.
So if we had the New Testament influenced by the Old Testament, which meant
I agree. So that's my point. Is if do you think that? But if correct, and it goes into
came and said, actually, this and that, we would look around. So okay, reality, we by objecting to our emotions, by objecting to love and peace, which coincide with logic, which in Greek is called the Word, which is God. To look at physics, understand physics precisely, and through our precise logical understanding of physics, anything that we please. Then our creative in single organism being holy, right? Christ is holy. That is just a 6, 7. You ever heard 6 and 7? You ain't got shit. You have deception. I know in Middle English, the word juggle means to deceive. However, if you add together 6 and 7, you have the words in Hebrew, ahava and ikad. Ikad means one, and ahava means love. So you
Interesting.
have, oh shit, sorry. Oh my gosh, there's a baby red fox in the street. Holy shit. I'm sorry. I thought it was a dead possum and I just came to a halt and there was a dude. It was like a foot and a half long, a baby red fox eating some freaking insects out of the street. That was awesome. All right, I'll shut
Yep.
up now. Go on. What do you think of what I've said?
Um, yeah, my middle name actually means Todd or actually means fox, which is Todd in German. So that's another reason
Hey,
why I have
yeah,
so um
I see. Yeah.
and then my last name also
You're an egg
carries
stealer.
the German word for raven as well. So
Wait. So
uh,
Fox is tied to Raven?
Fox is Fox is my would be my middle name, and then my last name would be tied to Raven in German. But my Todd is the
Oh,
actual word for fox in German.
yeah. That's Jay Diggs, the guy I was talking about earlier. His name is Fox or Todd. Dude,
Yeah. Yep.
I'm like so distracted by that. Like I almost hopped out of my truck and went and picked that thing up, and I kind of wish I did.
Yeah, they're
Yeah, but
cool.
well, guess what? Okay, so Ahava and Ikad, 6, 7, right? What is 6 plus 7? Tell me that.
I don't know, but chahava or whatever is life in Hebrew, so that's interesting. But yeah, I guess
6 plus
it
7
would
is 13.
be okay.
Whenever we hear 13, we
13.
think of bad luck. We think of bad luck, right?
I think of
However,
Levi.
oh shit, really? Tell me more.
Isn't he the technically the 13th tribe or no?
I'm not familiar with that.
I think I think technically he would be considered he's the priest, so he's not like a technical tribe, but I think he does account for the 13th. Ain't it weird how Levi and Leviathan or Levite, like I think that's so strange about them.
Dude, do you know about how the letter V is originally pronounced as the letter U? I mean, in Hebrew, you have Wa, but it was after the slavery by the Chaldeans that Wa became pronounced as Vav. You know about that?
Um was that your victory video?
I don't know, but this is just real etymology.
Oh, you were doing something about V and W in another video, and you were using the word
Oh, shoot,
victory,
dude.
I think, as
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's what you mean. Yeah, man, exactly. No, you're exactly right. Yeah, that's it. Um, so yeah, in Proto-Semitic Hebrew, you have a letter called Wa, which is a drawing of a tent peg, which is where we get that sound from. And after the Chaldean enslavement or the exile in Babylonian exile, as I think it's usually called, the rabbis introduced a new pronunciation. They changed the "w" sound to "v" explicitly, and I've thought a lot about that. And I don't know if you've heard me talk about this, and I really haven't said much of it. But I cite the channel Old World Florida has a really
Oh
great.
yeah,
Oh, you know about him?
I love
Okay,
his
so
channel.
dude, he introduced to me the concept that the new world is the old world. But so then after observing, the V and the W thing, and just the fact that Louisiana is uniquely organized into parishes, and just looking phonically at the relation between parish and Pharisee in the Iranian language of Farsi. um, I think Louisiana is actually land of the Levites, Levisiana. I have, and we're the only freaking place who still observes Napoleonic law. I don't know exactly what that means yet, but
Is that
two
must be
different people
French?
said that to me today, and it's true. Yeah, like not even Canada or France observe Napoleonic law, but we do. But yeah, so I think Louisiana is the land of the Levites and the Pharisees. I think this also might have to do with why Louisiana is uniquely tied to music, because I also learned that the Levites, uh, and I recognize that their method of guiding worship is specifically in the context of song and music.
Yeah, and cannabis oil. Have you ever heard about that?
What? No, I haven't.
Yeah, so the word I think is cannabasum, and yeah, but yeah, it's literally almost the exact same word. Cannabasum, I believe, is what it is the Hebrew word for it. But
What does
yeah,
that
they
mean?
that the oil they use to anoint it's allegedly cannabis oil, hemp oil. Isn't that
Yo,
weird?
dude, what? Okay, so
Yeah,
so
look it
my
up.
first thought, and so you've heard me talk about this about sativa, right?
I
Have
think
you?
so. I don't know.
See,
Remind me.
sativa in the Sanskrit concept of sattva.
Oh, okay, okay. I see what you're. Okay.
Okay. So yogis they say that the purest state of things. This is referred to as sattva, and uh,
Well, I'm not sure where Julian went. I'll give him another minute or two, and then I gotta head to bed. I was not prepared to go live. He kind of caught me off guard. So but I'm happy to do it. It's been fun.